Hello, welcome to Footprint. My name is Samuel Atamensa, and we are on to another wonderful episode of Footprint. The stories have been told in parts, but there are some personalities that are able to put all together in one stream. We are here to talk to one of such wonderful men. Just stay tuned. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking to another general. Welcome once again. Welcome back. It's still Footprint. And now you know who we are talking about. He is Air Marshal Napoleon Ashley-Lassen. Lassen. Air Marshal Napoleon Ashley-Lassen. Does the name ring a bell? If maybe you're too young, but just Google it and you'll find something interesting, okay? All right. Sir, good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And we are grateful, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much again.
And you just turned how many years again?
I just turned 89 years of age.
89 years? You look very good for 89, I must say.
Well, I always try to keep fit. You never know when another revolution will come in.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And you know, while we invited him, we thought that we'll bring someone I consider a veteran on this program, Wing Commander Sobojo. You know, Wing Commander Sobojo has had his turn on this. But for a reason that you get to understand later, we thought that he would be a good pairing to Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen. So, Wing Commander, I salute.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, making time for to be part of this. So we're just going into the story of Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen. At some point, he was the CDS, is that correct? Yes. That's the Chief of Defense Staff. That means so many things to anybody who understands what happens in the military. But we'll take it one step at a time. Sir, so who are you?
I am a Ghanaian, born in Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria. I'm excited. Where?
I was born in the River State in the town called Port Harcourt.
Oh, Port Harcourt. But Port Harcourt, at the time, they behaved like they were Western people, white men, and you know the weather was a bit not like all the parts of Nigeria.
It's a very nice town,
place.
You know.
But they were stylish.
Somehow, because probably there was a big port.
Because the
Port Harcourt,
okay.
And then they are not too far from Calabar, too, which had another big port. And so a lot of Europeans in those days,
Europeans influenced them.
Traders and whatnot used to enter Nigeria too. And then you have the delta of so many big
rivers,
Niger delta, you know,
yeah.
Many inlets through the river.
You remember growing up in Port Harcourt?
Yes, I was born there.
Up until which age?
In March 1934.
1934, March.
29th March 1934.
Wow. Oh, you have the same birth date as the current president.
Actually, I don't know when he was born, but I know he wasn't born in 1934, though.
No, I mean the 29th March.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and a few others. Anyway, so you lived in Nigeria, and then at the time, what did you know? What did you make of the politics of Nigeria, if you remember anything?
Well, by the time the politics started developing to the state it is today, I left Nigeria to come to Ghana.
So you left before the Civil War?
I left before the Civil War. In fact, I left Nigeria in about November 1948.
1948?
I left
That's way before our independence.
Way before Ghana's independence.
How did you travel?
I came by truck. We used to have these big bulk haulage trucks, very big ones. And then you find about 6 to 10 people sitting on top. And the journey from Lagos, or Idiroko, near Lagos, to
Ghana.
To Ghana would take you a good 3 days.
3 days?
3 days.
You're on the road?
On the road. because we were stopping at each checkpoint. We stop at the Seme, then you come to the Togo one, and then Aflao.
But you were young. How did you find yourself? How did you manage with your parents? Or
well, my father had a niece who was about 40 then, and who used to visit Ghana or the Gold Coast in those days. He used to come as far as Kita and had friends. He used to trade with people there. And so he asked her to take me and my little nephew to come to Ghana to do the course at Zion College.
Okay, so you did your primary education there?
In Port Harcourt.
In Port Harcourt.
And then I moved to Jos. In the Plateau province, where I did my elementary school education.
Oh, wow.
And then from Jos, I moved to Yola in the Adamawa province of Nigeria.
At the time, was Adamawa a state on its own?
It was a state. It was called Adamawa, all right.
Okay.
It was a state, And Yola was the capital.
Capital, okay.
And it was from there that my father decided to send me to Ghana. My father used to work for UAC, the United African Company. He was at that time the chief accountant for UAC in the north of Nigeria.
So, I see.
Yeah.
So that took you around.
Wherever he went,
you followed.
We went with him.
Do you speak any Nigerian language?
Hausa. I used to speak Igbo, but I've now.
Oh, you will lose it.
So that's it.
But Hausa.
Hausa.
So you still.
Because I stayed in Jos for about 8 to 9 years before.
Oh, then you speak the Nigerian Hausa.
Nigerian Hausa. That's the one.
You remember anything in Hausa? How are you doing?
Kana Lafia.
Kana Lafia. Lafia Lo.
Lafia Lo, that sort of thing. In Azaka, where are you going?
I'm okay now. Okay, so, and then secondary school, you had to come to Ghana.
I had to come to Ghana.
And which school did you choose? Because there was
my father had intended for me to go to Achimota, which was a popular school in Ghana in those days. Popular also in Nigeria. People in Nigeria have heard of Achimota.
Yes.
And I think the whole of West Africa, people heard of Achimota. And they wanted me to. But then he had another friend in Jos, an Ewe man as well, one Mr. Atipo, I think that was the name, who said, look, there is this new school called the Zion College of West Africa, which has been started by a reverend called Reverend Fiao. And it's a very good school. And I would suggest that you send your son there. So my father changed his mind and decided to send me to Ghana.
Prior to your attendance, or within the same period, you had Nigerians who later on became statesmen in Nigeria who attended that school.
Indeed.
You remember any
I
of
remember.
the
I don't. This was not
Azikiwe?
Azikiwe didn't go to that school. I know Azikiwe because he wasn't living too far from our house when we were in Port Harcourt.
Wow.
He had then set up.
You mean Namdi Azikiwe?
Yeah, he had this press thing, West African
the newspaper.
Pilot. The West African Pilot, I think it was called then, for this newspaper. And so,
wow.
And he was a guy who tried to dress funnily. He would put trousers, wear the tokota that we have in Ghana here, with a bubu or jumper, and then put a helmet on. And you could always see him and know that it was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Very popular then.
Wow.
Very, very popular then.
Nice. So you didn't go to Achimota School, you went to...
I went to Zion College.
That's Zico. Is it Zico?
Zikowas. Yeah.
Zikowa.
Zion College of West Africa.
You remember some of your mates then?
Oh, yes, I remember some of them. I don't know if they are still alive. We had Colonel Amuzu. The Togbisri, there was a Togbisri Adelaja II. Togbisri Adelaja II. They called him Jinku. That is the king of the Anglo State. He was my classmate in Zion College. And he's now passed on anyway.
Oh, okay.
He's passed on. So
wow.
He was my classmate at
but
that
Zion
time.
College, is it still around?
It is still around.
Because it used to be a private school.
And I still think it's a private school. I don't know about that, but I still think it's a private school. And I think that is one of the things that probably is not good about it. So
a legacy.
That is it. And it's making the school not to develop. Otherwise, it would have developed very, very fast into a big school and a very, very popular one.
Yeah, I mean, for a private school to be so attractive across borders within the West African region, because I've heard Nigerian statesmen who said they came to
a few of them
Zion
came. I can't remember their names now,
yeah.
but a few of them came over. Nice. And we had lecturers from Sierra Leone and some other parts of West Africa.
At the time, correct me if I'm wrong, Sierra Leone was notable for education.
Very much so.
It was a Furabe University.
Of course, yeah.
Wow.
And we had 2 lecturers from there. A lady, I can't remember her name, she was half caste, and then another Mr. Charles, I think, who was teaching English.
Wow.
Sierra Leone. Yeah.
And you remember all these?
Well, I was a young man then. These were guys teaching you then. So, and one other person I remember, not a foreigner, but a native, was Reverend Dovlo. He later on became the principal of the school after Reverend Fiao.
Wow.
You know.
He was your mate?
No, he wasn't my mate. He was vice principal of the school.
At the time.
You know. I wasn't young. I was about 13, 14 when I entered the school. You know.
Great. Okay, people, so this is Air Marshal, Air Marshal Napoleon Ashley-Lassen. So he's just opened it up, but we have Wing Commander Patrick Sogbojo here. Wing Commander, it's we call him Uncle Pat, so please permit me if I do that. At which point in your life did you encounter this man?
Had joined the Ghana Air Force from Achimota School, and we had to do a bit of grading, where they grade you if you have the aptitude to become a pilot.
You mean having passed?
You have to do the grading because they check you out. No, and not everyone who wants to be an air crew gets to become an air crew. So after the air crew, then we had to go and do the boot camp at the Tertiary Military Academy. We did that for about 6 months. Then,
real boot camp?
Yeah, that's why they put the military discipline in you.
Oh.
Every country has a boot camp. It's not only for military, you learn like a normal sixth form, but the emphasis is trying to push the military discipline and leave out your civilian attributes. If you come out from a boot camp and are selected, you're a different person altogether. Then it came to a time when we're military academy, Ghana had decided to buy jet fighters. In the interim, we did some gliding at Afenia School with Hannah Wright, the famous German pilot to Hitler. Taught us some gliding at Afenia. Then I think when Ghana Air Force decided to buy jets, the first in south of the Sahara, some of us were selected to go to Italy. And the morning of our departure from the airport was when I first met him. Because he was the captain of the aircraft who took us from Accra through Kano, then to Tamaracet to Rome.
Okay.
So my first captain as a general was sometime in 1964 when I first met him.
So he was piloting one of the aircraft? Was it a Ghana Air Force aircraft?
Ghana Air Force called Caribou. Take that 40 people. He was there with 2 other Ghanaian pilots and a Canadian.
Right.
And it was quite an enjoyable flight from Accra to Kano, at night then to Tamaracet in the Sahara, then fly straight through Benghazi, where we also met Colonel Gaddafi and Jalou, who had just returned from Staff College in France, stayed with them for about a few days. Then we crossed the Mediterranean to Rome to begin our training. And that's the first time I met him.
Wow. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Oh, the rest, we came back from Italy. He became our base commander. That's commander of the Air Force base in Accra.
Wow.
He became the commander of the Ghana Air Force. And then became the chief of defense staff.
Wow. So now let's take it again. From Zion College, how did you handle the progression what happened after Zion College?
Well, I finished Zion College in 1952. And my mother had then come from Nigeria into Ghana because my father was nearing his retirement age. And because I'm the only boy among 5 sisters, my mother didn't want me to go back into Nigeria. I left my sisters there. I only came with 2 here. She wanted me to stay in Ghana. So I was forced to take up teaching appointment. After Zion College, in fact, I wasn't able to sit for my Cambridge School certificate before I left. There were some riots in Angola in those days. You know, the guys there like to probably disturb things for a while. Yes. So I came into Ghana, and in 1953, took up a pupil teacher's appointment at St. Anthony's School in Denu.
Right.
And whilst I was teaching, I was at the same time preparing for my Cambridge School certificate.
Right.
Unfortunately, I passed it in July 1953. And after passing that exam, I started thinking of what to do. First, I thought probably I would go to the university to do geography and go and work for the IMO, you know. Then I said, no, probably I should go and be a very well-trained teacher, go into a teacher's training school to become a very trained teacher. But then just at that time, and that is what my mother wanted. My mother wanted me to be a teacher, actually. She didn't want me to leave Denu at all. So she went to see the priest in charge of the Catholic school, the Reverend Father, and arranged with him to get me to a good teacher's training school. And there was one in Hallway then, St. Francis Teachers Training College. But just about that time, this publication came out in Ghana Daily Graphic of the Ministry of Defense wanting ex-secondary school students to apply to be trained as officers, to be commissioned as officers in the Ghana Armed Forces. And I saw it and said, well, I will take my chance.
Which year was this?
This was in 1954. So I deceived my mother when she said, I said I was going to Accra. She said, what are you going to? I said, I'm going to look for a school where I can do teachers training. But then I came straight to Burma Camp.
Wow.
I applied, they called me, I came to Burma Camp. This was
You came alone?
I came alone, and this was early part of 1955.
So at the time, who was controlling the Ghana Air Force? As were they Ghanaians or?
There was no Air Force then.
Okay.
We were just having the Gold Coast. It was then, Ghana was then Gold Coast. And it was the Gold Coast Army. It was commanded by a British brigadier called Brigadier Paley. And the whole army was a good 82 to 85% officered by British officers.
Wow.
So about 15%, 10 to 15 were all Ghanaian officers.
Right.
That was the first time I met Ankra. Ankra was a young captain then.
That's General Ankra?
General Ankra. Then Otu as well, Aferi, all these guys. And one Awaite, I think he's dead now.
Yeah.
They were all the young guys.
This is Akwapim.
Akwapim Aferi.
Yeah.
Otu too is from
Otu,
there.
yes, from Latin.
They're all young.
Yeah.
Michel, he's from Amejope area. You know,
they were the Ghanaian officers.
Yeah, well, what we got to know later on is that at that time, the bulk of people applying to enter the Ghana army were from the north, but they couldn't read or write or speak English very well.
At the time.
So these gentlemen had been in the service, but as sergeant majors.
Okay.
Otu, Michel, they were all sergeant majors. So the British called them in and used them as schoolmasters to teach these people who came in from the north how to read and write English. Okay. So they all started their careers as sergeant majors.
Right.
And it was later on that, of course, when Nkrumah came in, that he wanted to Africanize and Ghanaianize, that he started giving them commissions.
Okay.
So when I came in, the Otus, the Ankras, the Michel had already gone to the stage where they had been sent to England to get a commission, a 3-month course for short service commission, and they all had it. And in fact, one of the tests we conducted, in those days you just don't come in and go. You come in, you are subjected to English language tests, written and oral, current affairs, You have to do that as well, just to make sure that you are okay. And then after that, if you passed, they'll take you. And the person who was in charge of the group in which I was, 25 of us, was Ankara. Okay. It was, you know him with a very pronounced bow leg in those days, So he was in charge of my group, and that was it. And after that test, you go before a board, a very strong selection board of 9 prominent persons. A.L. Edu was around there, Robert Gardner was there, and then the most senior Ghanaian was the man who founded Accra Academy, Konwa. I remember him very well, because when I went for my final listing with the board, the general who was in charge, he came from Nigeria to sit on that board, because at this time, selection, there were men also from all parts of
West Africa.
Well, not the first one. The first one was all Ghanaian. But the second one, West Africa. And so, but for this Ghanaian one, it was O2, not O2, Konwa.
Konwa, tell me, was he a reverend?
Konwa was the founder of the Accra Academy. He wasn't a reverend. No, he was just a heavy, education expert and whatnot. Okay. And on this board, which had a general as the chairman, they will interview you, and they ask me the question about what you asked me about Nigeria and the politics. You have to speak to it and all that sort of thing. And then they will make their note and say, go away. But when I came finally again, 2 times we went before the board, the general in charge said to me, Ashley-Lassen, you look too young. I look boyish. I look very boyish in the, you would think.
How old were you then?
I was just 20, getting to 21. He said, but I look boyish, smallish. He says, well, you look boyish, and I think I would like you to come next year and try again when you look matured. Then, there and then, Mr. Kodwa got up and said, the guy has done very well in all the subjects. Look at his results. He's done everything well, and you want him to come back next year? I don't think so. A.L. Edu backed him. The other Ghanaians, they all backed him. And so the general couldn't succeed.
Tell me about A.L. Edu again. Was he a politician?
He wasn't he was a government official.
Okay.
He was the guy who worked with Nkrumah.
Head of the cabinet.
Yeah. Because I connected that to Nkrumah, yeah.
So that's how Konwa, because of Konwa, they had to accept. He was the most senior Ghanaian on the team then. You could see, I remember him well, always in a white Tuzo suit with tie on,
Good.
But he was very, very
At this
active.
time, had he started the work with Accra Academy?
Yes, they say he had started.
Okay.
He had started.
But he lent support to the
He was
military.
they knew him as an educationist, and so the British government used him a lot.
So you finally got...
So with his assistance, I was accepted. We were accepted, about 38 to 40 of us, including also 7 soldiers. We had sergeants and sergeant majors who want to be officers who also applied with us. So they all were. I had a person like General Amenu was in my intake. And Amenu, who is dead and gone now. He was in my intake. One Okraku.
He was also from the Volta region.
Yes, right? One Okraku, one Amate, I think it's a Ga. Then, of course, I have other civilian, other young men like me, like Bob Aqua, Brigadier Aqua, he's dead now. Brigadier David Asare. And then the major that was killed with the judges.
Aqua. Sam Aqua.
Sam Aqua was also
he was all in your intake?
Oh, yes, all in my intake.
Wow.
We all passed,
We'll talk about Sam Aqua. People, so you are listening to Air Marshal Napoleon Ashley-Lassen. There's so much to talk about, but we just needed to establish one thing about who he is. And now I think we've done pretty well. We'll take a short break. When we come back, he'll take us through the journey of the military academy itself, his experiences, what he got to understand about the military, his own expectations, and the people he met. We'll be right back. This is Footprint.
Citi TV is live. On DSTV, go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
Welcome back to the program. It's Footprint. I'm Samuel Atamensa. And in this episode, we have Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen. But he also has company in the person of Wing Commander Patrick Sogbojo. They are both being retired for some. But my understanding is that when you retire above a certain level, you still keep your title. Is that correct?
But at your retirement, it's conferred. It's not. If it's not conferred, you can't use your rank in civil street. Any rank below major, you cannot use retired. I see a lot of people captain retired or flight lieutenant retired. You can't use it. Retirement will be conferred on you ranks from major and above.
Oh, that's it, eh?
That's it.
So the one we hear captain retired, or
it's not right.
It's not the standard.
It's not the standard. No, it's not right.
Now we know something.
Thank you very much.
Call yourself captain retired. Kofi Amwabe, you are part of it.
You can't even use.
I must get and thank you for mentioning
use your rank in civil street. But major and above, if you left on a good note, it's normally it's the last paragraph. You're entitled to use your rank in civil street. It's confirming.
Wow.
It's not automatic.
I'm hearing this for the first time. Thank you for the education. So people, now you know. It's not everybody that went through the army will keep their name. You know, Rollins kept their name.
Even Rollins was
he was not
entitled.
supposed to keep their name. But he's no more here, so I'll let him go. Okay, so your time in the academy, how long did it take?
I didn't do my military academy training here.
Yes. When you went and you passed.
When I went before the board.
Yeah, for the interview.
Yes.
What did you tell your mom?
When I went and I told her that I'd joined they gave us about 2 weeks leave to go and sort ourselves and come back to start our training. I told her, she asked where I'd been. I said I'd been in the army. And she was disappointed. But then even before then, a cousin of hers saw me in Accra in the camp with soldiers and whatnot, and went to tell her, I saw your son with soldiers, I hope it's not joined. So she didn't know how to get to me until I went back to tell her that I was in the army. She couldn't do anything, so she just had to
give you a blessing.
Yes, just give me the blessing. And then I came back and
okay, so tell us the story. So what was the nature of the training and where did you do the training?
Well, after the selection board, about 28 of us were successful. Half of that number were all ex-secondary students and the others were military persons. So they decided to send us to the Regimental Training Center in Kumasi. This was in January 56, about January 55, I beg your pardon, January 55.
So this is the Regimental Training Center will be the one in...
That is where all recruits go through. Anybody who joined the armed forces, civilian, if he wants to join and what, they all go there to do their training to become soldiers and whatnot. So they sent us there for 8 weeks. The idea being that they want us, since we want to become officers, to experience what the ordinary soldier goes through before it's...
So this place that you're talking about had a site that they used to train some group called Boys Company.
Yeah.
It was after us that the Boys Company
That's
came.
a boot camp.
Yeah.
The Boys Company came years after us. I know the Boys Company.
Yeah,
and,
I used to school by the place.
Oh, I see.
I love their haircut.
I see. so at this time, I'm speaking of the time when the British we were still Royal West African Frontier Force, and the country was still Gold Coast. I'm talking about, I joined in the Gold Coast time. So we went there for 8 weeks, and it was 8 weeks of drill, weapon training. They were just grueling you. It was a grueling exercise.
And you're ready for it.
And well, you had to do it. But then if you didn't pull your weight there, then you had it. So I remember one exercise, we drill exercise. The Sergeant Major, I think it was from Nigeria. In those days, Ghana, the Gold Coast Army had a lot of Nigerians, Sierra Leoneans and whatnot, all mixed. Teshikam was the West African Command Training School. And there were all sorts of people, Nigerians, Sierra Leoneans, all. It was then still part of the Royal West African Frontier Force, commanded by a British general.
Right, you remember his name?
At the time I joined, it was Whistler, General Whistler.
Whistler Barracks.
Whistler, the barracks was named after, but before Whistler came GFAT. And it was General GFAT who did a lot of things for the armed forces before Whistler took over.
So the GFAT road was named
after him.
him.
Camping road, GFAT road.
So we spent these 8 weeks in Kumasi, doing all sorts of things to give you an idea of what the ordinary man goes through. And I was nearly, again, kicked out of the military training because there was this Sergeant Major from Nigeria who was drilling us on the square. He drilled us for a good 15 minutes without stopping. And when he halted us, we were all tired and panting heavily. On my left was Brigadier General Asare. He was then potential officer. He said, he called Ashley, I'm tired. And then all of a sudden, he leant on my left shoulder. So I had to put my rifle down
and hold him.
And that annoyed the drill sergeant taking the drill. He shouted, potential officer Ashley-Lassen, stand still! Just like I didn't mind him because the guy was already on me. So I managed to drag Asare, then took my rifle, dragged him to the guard room where they had a little medical about 60 yards away.
Yeah.
Then he later on found that it was serious, so he came and helped. But that ended the parade.
So this parade would be happening in that square in front of the buildings?
The big square in Kumasi,
yes. Buildings, yes.
And there too, the OC was an Englishman, an English lieutenant colonel.
Yeah.
So after the parade, the next day, I was charged. The first time I knew what they call charging you in the military. The sergeant charged me, took me straight to... And I thought that was the end of me. So when I appeared before the lieutenant colonel, the British officer, he said to the sergeant, I'm going to squash this case because the guy tried to help somebody who was sick. In fact, Asare spent 3 days in the hospital.
Wow.
If they had kicked me, he would have come out and found that I was gone.
Yeah, but for your intervention, it would have been worse.
The colonel said, I will take the opportunity of this thing to explain to you what it means to obey a lawful command, the order that the Sergeant Major gave. So he explained it. So we must learn that lesson now. But in this particular instance, with Asare collapsing, Ashley-Lassen did the right thing, That was it. So that saved me. So,
wow.
So we spent 8 weeks there, and we left and came to Accra. In fact, the one thing we remember very well about the 8th time in Kumasi, then they were building Okomfuanochi Hospital.
Yeah, because it's next door, actually.
Yes, they were building that hospital.
Yeah.
So that's
you see it from where you're... Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
So after that, we came to Accra. Now, to start the actual officer cadet training in a school called the Regular Officers Special Training School. This was the school set up to train people who want to become officers.
Okay.
It was set up by the British general I just mentioned. So it was started by GFAT, but then Whistler took it over. And
so in today's terms, which school would this be?
Well, it was after Ross had been in existence for about 10 years that they came to form the military academy. Am I right?
The military academy came in about
60-something, is it?
60, 61.
61.
Okay.
No,
so that became military academy.
But then we, after the training at Ross, we were flown to the UK. We went first to the Mons Officer Cadet School.
Where?
The Mons Officer, in Aldershot, in military town.
Okay. Yeah.
But then the Mons Officer Cadet School was for British graduates. At that time, the British National Service was in operation. So graduates were being trained
in Aldershot,
in that place. So we spent 3 months there before passing out. But I must make this comment. The instructors there were very, very, very impressed and pleased with our presence. Because all this training we had in Kumasi and all this, they appreciated what it meant. So they used us for demonstration to explain to the graduates who are now trying to get, certain things and whatnot, And I remember the final exercise we did on that, in that place. It was an exercise to show you are a soldier, you are going to attack your enemy, but your bullets are finished, so the only thing you have left is your rifle and your bayonet. So this one is a life and death thing. So we were 7, 4 Ghanaians, 2 Nigerians, and 1 Sierra Leonean. We were to demonstrate this to the British boys, all graduates, but training to be officers. And so we had to prepare ourselves. I remember that they camouflaged our faces and whatnot. And then we advanced to attack. These boys, the British boys, were all in their trenches with their weapons. They said we should attack them to demonstrate how this exercise will be done. And David Asare, he's dead now, my colleague, he was leading us. And as we approached these boys, we became wild. You have to show that you are wild. It's your last stage. No bullet, nothing. So it's life and death. So we were shouting, calling all sorts of gods and whatnot.
Out, hunger.
Everything. And the British boys in their trenches jumped out and ran away, left all their rifles, their everything, and went away. So at the end of the exercise, the colonel who was debriefing us called them and said, "Why did you run out?" We were trying to explain something to demonstrate. They said they thought we had gone mad and coming for them. So
that's the last time you joked there.
So the Kenyan in charge says, "This is what it must be in the final. And we don't have weapons, we don't have bullets, so you have to go for it." And we were really praised.
Wow.
It was very good.
Wow.
It was very good.
Wow. So from all the shots, you moved.
Then we entered Sandhurst.
Sandhurst, okay.
We entered the main military academy, the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst.
Which year would this be again?
This was January 1956.
Oh, 1 year before our independence.
Yeah. We were there when Ghana got independence, and very good. We enjoyed it in Sandhurst because Nkrumah came there for the first time to see us.
Wow. After the independence or before?
Before the independence.
Before. Tell me about Sandhurst first. When you go
after the independence.
After
the independence.
Okay. What did you know about Sandhurst before you went there?
We knew that it was the top military training academy for the British government. All the good British monarchs were sent there. Prince Charles spent some time there. Yeah. Harry spent some time there. Yeah. They all go there, and it's a place. The military academy is such that when you go in there, the discipline and whatnot is such that if you come out of that place and you're an officer and somebody, if you are bad, you can't stay there. They will kick you out before you have finished. If you are bad, you can't complete the course.
Good. So when you got there, you knew that you had arrived.
We knew that we had arrived.
I would imagine that you also met in your cohorts. You met people from other countries.
Yes, when I went into Sandhurst, we met people like Gowan. There was one intake ahead of me.
Tell me about that. You mean General Gowan?
General Gowan, Yakubu, Jack, we call him.
Yakubu Gowan?
Yes.
Wow, let me sit well, man. You mean you were in the school with Gowan?
With Gowan and a number of other officers, most of them Igbos who took part in the war in Nigeria.
Yeah, Ojuku's people.
Yes. Over here in Ghana, I trained with what is his name? Effiong. Effiong was in my intake in Ghana. Ross.
He became general too.
Yes, he became general.
Effiong, yeah.
But it was short service. I trained with Effiong.
Wow.
But in Sandhurst, yes, we met Gowon. And
no, I'm happy about this Gowon thing because obviously
he was intake 19, 3 months ahead of us, and we were intake 20.
And when you got there, you could interact with the Nigerians easily.
Well, my house helped me a great deal
because of your background.
Other people who came and met us in Sandhurst were Kojo Chikata. He was 1 year behind me.
Oh, Captain Chikata.
Yeah, Kojo Chikata met me. Kote.
Bob Kote.
Bob, Idisa, Hamidou came
General Hamidou, yeah.
He came as I was leaving. I left in December. He entered in January. So many, you know.
No, it's interesting to remember some of them.
Yes, there were people. I met Gowon. Gowon left.
So how was he like?
Very nice guy. He was the first African cadet to be made a cadet sergeant.
At Sandhurst?
At Sandhurst, and I was the second.
Tell us, what does that mean?
It means he held a top cadet position. He was a senior cadet. He had some privileges. He could give orders to others and do certain things and what.
And you had trainees from other Commonwealth countries?
Oh yes, we had Malaysians, we had a few Indians, we had some South Africans. In Ross, Sierra Leoneans came because we were still West Africa then, you know. So there were Sierra Leoneans. There was one Sierra Leonean in my thing called Eawile. Igbos. There are two Nigerians in my group, and then others in the group of the ex-soldiers who were seeking, but they went on a different course, 3 months course in places like, say, Eaton Hall and Mons of South. But Sandhurst is the full officers course, regular officers course for 2 years.
So how long did you stay in Sandhurst?
2 years full.
2 full years?
2 full years.
Now, out of curiosity, how did your mother react to it when you told her you were going to Abuchi at the time?
She was wild. When I was in Sandhurst, the Suez War came on. The Suez, of the Suez War that took place, and I think it was 56 or so. And there was massive enlistment of people and whatnot. And I don't know who went to tell my mother that this enlistment is taking place, and so your son may be going to the Suez to fight. So I was
Suez Canal.
Yes, I was on exercise when they said I was going on commandant's orders. The commandant wanted to see me. The commandant of Sandhurst was the major general. And in Sandhurst, if the commandant wants to see you, it means one of two things.
Either you are being sacked or
you have done well, he wants to
commend you.
So when I walked in and saluted, he said, relax, Ashley-Lassen. He said, your mother thinks that we are sending you to Suez. So I was wondering how he got to know. So he gave me the letter my mother had sent. So I took the letter and went to say, well, I won't reply, but you go and tell your mother, call him and say, you are not going anywhere. So I saluted and walked out.
Wow, interesting. I mean, it's a nice story to because the Nigerian influence at the time was also very
very great. Very great. We had the son of the Emir of Katsina, one of the biggest northern regions, and the Emir was
in the military.
Yes, it was 1 year. It was with Kojo Chikata. It was with Kojo Chikata and Chumberima.
Okay.
Chumberima and Kojo.
So Ojukwu instructed you at Rust?
Ojukwu, he had finished his degree in Cambridge or Oxford, and then joined and got the short service commission.
And he came to Accra.
Came to Accra. He was then teaching in the military academy, teaching English and some other subjects.
So I missed that, of course. That's why when Commander somebody I say
I had then just transferred. So he met us in this area.
So Ojukwu, who was the other person against Gowon in that Civil War?
He was a young officer. You know, his father was fabulously rich. They had what they call Ojukwu Transport, one of the biggest
in
transport owners. And this was the son.
Igbo business.
Yes. And this boy was trained, all his training took part in England.
In England.
So after getting his degree in Oxford, I think he got a short service commission and then came out.
In England?
In England.
Okay.
But recognized by the Nigerian army.
And Ghana army as well.
And Ghana, we were still then West Africa, railway. So he came to Ghana and he was teaching military law and some other subjects in the military in Teshi, this thing. By the time I came back, they had formed the military academy because I was a lieutenant when I transferred into the Air Force. So Ojukwu was around.
So he came to teach. He
came to teach the first bunch of cadets, flying people who came to fly, school children. And because I was also part of that first group.
Okay. So I'm trying to draw some link, So you had known Gowon.
In Sandhurst.
In Sandhurst.
Oh, yes.
And then you came to meet Ojukwu in Ghana.
In Ghana, yeah.
So fast forward,
I knew he was in Port Harcourt when I was a young boy. Maybe he was also a small boy.
That's Ojukwu.
Because his father was in Port Harcourt, based his transport business there.
Okay.
So
when the Civil War broke out, how did you react to it?
I was here then.
Yeah, how did you, knowing that you knew both
I was worried for my father and all my people. I have only sisters. My father, I was the only son among 5 girls.
Yeah.
So I was worried. But then
but you knew that it was Gowon versus Ojukwu.
At that, Gowon came in and tried to put things right. He was a very nice, pleasant guy. He didn't like trouble, and he did what we all expected of him. But he had difficulties.
Yeah.
At the time he came in, they had General Irunsi, whom I have met. I know Irunsi. Irunsi was made of people like Michel, Otus, and whatnot. He was also an honor rank sergeant major.
Irunsi too came to Ghana?
Well, they all
passed through.
They met in England.
Okay.
When they were all WOs or warrant officers, but sent to England to be commissioned. And he met the Michels, the Otus, and whatnot in England, and they all were given the short service commission and came back. They were the people in charge in those days.
Wow.
They were the people in charge in those days until we came back from Sandhurst.
Add something to it. When the Buru Conference for Nigeria,
yes,
when the leaders came, I was Ojukwu's ADC.
See.
And we disarmed Gowon, a few on the rest of them, but we did not disarm Ojukwu. I took him to Aburi.
Oh, I see.
So Ghana was biased. We were supporting
Ojukwu.
Yes.
Obviously, he had worked here.
he had worked here, and then we've also been made by the famous CIA that it was a war between Christians and Northerners. So we were supposed to go and bomb Lagos. At that time, Nigerian Air Force didn't have jet fighters. We had.
Wow.
So
as in, supposedly go and bomb Lagos in support of Ojukwu.
Ojukwu, yes.
Wow.
So when Ojukwu also fled, wherever he took off, so Accra he landed. And his aircraft was at Accra base for a long time before the Nigerians came from it. Because he had took Gowon around, all of them in Teshi.
So Gowon later came to Teshi.
Gowon came to Teshi.
Gowon was one of the officers who
passed through Ross to UK.
Also, he did Teshi before going to Sandhurst.
Yes, most of them passed through.
Because of that, I brought this book for you to see some of those guys. These are all those who went to Ross.
Okay, let me see
this one. You can see our Okai who took over from me at CDS. Here you have Banjo, I know Banjo. Ado, General Ado.
Yeah.
The two of us were the first to go into Recce. I was an army officer before this thing, And then when you come down, you see Okran. General Okran went there.
General Okran, who passed away only last year or so.
Yes, they were all there. General Okran, Sani Thomas.
Yes, Sani Thomas.
Amwa, he was a Navy officer. You will know Ijo Kotoka. Was in Slater, Yaboy, all these were there. But they were short service, they were sergeants or sergeant majors whom...
Tell me about this Slater. Was he Ghanaian?
Yes, Well, his father was...
British.
Yeah. It's like Michel.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Michel, So they were... So Ross 1 is Okai. All these others were 2, 3, I'm Ross 4. These are the people I trained with.
So Ross again is the Royal... What do you
Regular Officers Special Training School.
Oh, okay.
Regular officers special
we are in school, We are in school. All right. So we will take a short break. This is still Footprint with Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen, who also has a company of Wing Commander Patrick Sobojo. And so far, so good. We are still learning. We still have some time to go, but we'll take this short break. When we come back, he will tell us what became of his profession after he passed out of the academy. This is Footprint. We'll be right back.
Citi TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access Citi TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV on your television. Citi TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. Citi TV, it's your world.
Welcome back to the program. It's Footprint with Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen. So at this point, you were just exiting from Sandhurst, coming back to Ghana, right?
Well, before coming back, I had to do my young officers course. As I said.
Still in the UK?
In the UK, yes. It was a 6 to 7 months course, artillery course.
Wow.
In Lark Hill.
Lark Hill.
Lark Hill in the UK.
This is in the Midlands, right?
In the Midlands. No,
Yeah.
south, a bit south.
Okay.
A bit south. I've forgotten the county.
Yeah.
It's a 6 months course, because you are dealing with heavy guns, 25 pounders and whatnot. Then Ghana had some.
Heavy guns.
Heavy. The mortar, you have the 3-inch
Not the
mortar.
Kafu, but that we,
you have the 25 pounders, the fire during ceremonial parades, which we have. Those things. And we want to specialize on them.
But you know why the Ashantis or they can't say Premoto?
They say what?
Premo. When 12 o'clock. It's Perimartin. That's why they boomed.
Oh, okay.
At the fort to defeat the Ashantis. So Perimartin became Premo. So when they hear Premato means 12 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy guns.
So in Kumasi back in the day, for a long time,
Yes.
at 12 o'clock, that used to sound.
That's where the Ashantis surrendered to the British.
Oh, this is in front of Kingsway.
Yes,
The
the
then
fort.
Kingsway.
Yes. It's after they boomed the Perimartin that frightened them and they decided to surrender.
And there's a Premato.
Premato 12 o'clock. Up to today, when they say Premato, it means it's 12 o'clock.
Perimartin.
It's Perimartin. Perimartin.
Another one. Okay, so the young officers course in Lark Hill,
yeah, it was 6 to 7 months, and after that, came back to Ghana. I came back and served in the battery, in the artillery, Ghana artillery. We were then where the Air Force mess is today. You know where the Air Force mess is?
Yes.
That was our barracks. The only thing in that area then was Elwak Stadium. And of course, the Lands Department buildings. They were all colonial buildings. That sort of served a distance. So that was where we were serving as artillery officers. And the only 2 black officers were Ado, he was before me, followed by I met Ado in Sandhurst. He was in Sandhurst too. Ado was also in Sandhurst. He was a good, almost a year and also ahead of me. But I met him in Sandhurst and whatnot.
And then you met him at the artillery?
I think he finished, came back, and we were together. I came back to Ghana, and then later on when I finished and I was posted, I came back to Ghana, I went to the artillery unit behind there until they changed from artillery into armored regiment.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to do away with the guns and go away for the armored regiment.
By the time you came, Ghana had attained independence?
Yes. Independence took place while I was in Sandhurst. And in fact, my intake in Sandhurst and other Ghanaians doing courses, we went to the Ghana High Commission to take part in the ceremony. I think it was Sir Edward Asafwaje. There was some.
Yes, the minister. He was the first ambassador.
He was the ambassador then.
The first High Commissioner.
But before then, there was Mesa, a tall man. His son is a lawyer now. You see him on the TV telling lies all the time.
You didn't say that.
He's a liar. You can see that he's pure secondary Takoradi rascal. But the Air Force was in secondary Takoradi, so I know those guys. I used to go to I know them well.
you see Mesa on TV telling lies.
Like the father. You know Mr. Akenya. Akenya was in head of the I think, whatever thing. Nkrumah's thing in those days. Kenya is from Zima area.
Yeah.
His daughter was in the military as a nursing sister. And
the daughter
Mr. Kenya
married
wanted
Chris.
me to marry Chumbarima.
Chumbarima.
Kojo Chumbarima. And I wasn't keen then. So I was too serious with serving, so I didn't show interest in that.
This, I will not leave you today.
Very interesting. So when you came to the artillery, so now...
I came to join the artillery from England, and not quite 3 months or so, the decision came from... Nkrumah then was active as
the Prime Minister.
He had then become Prime Minister.
Now tell me, while you were at Sandhurst, you had an encounter with Nkrumah, is that correct?
Nkrumah came down there to see us, and it was a big day.
How was it like?
He had come, I think, for the Prime Minister's conference, and then he sent A.L. Edu, the tall man, to come to the...
Secretary to the Cabinet.
Yes. So the commandant said, well, get Ashley-Lassen. We had a commandant in that time, that was the second commandant, who was a crack man. When I say crack, he was a paratrooper. He never liked to wear this type of caps where he put his green beret, and he wanted to show he was tough. So he called me, the president is coming, and what are you guys going to do? How do we meet him? How do I address him and whatnot? So I briefed him. But something happened 2 hours before Nkrumah came. Because Nkrumah was coming, they displayed the flags of all the countries whose students were in Sandhurst. We saw it, but 2 hours before Kwame came, the Ghana flag was missing. So the commandant went wild and called me in. Ashley-Lassen, I noticed that your country's flag was missing. I'm very sorry for it, but I'm going to make sure that it is there before your president came. In fact, as I left his office going back to somebody has put the flag, no commandant, top guy, the flag started flying. But he apologized for it. He sent A.L. Edu to come and see the commandant. I met him, tall man. A.L. Edu came to apologize that the notice was short for the visit. But Nkrumah thought this was an opportunity to see the officers in the army, the armed forces. So he came to Sandhurst, and it was a big day. All the other West Africans had to join together to come.
They could relate.
They could relate. It was very, very nice. He came in. It was a good parade. The commandant took him to the old college, which is the oldest building, to show him things. And then, Nkrumah had the habit of, after talking to the commandant, he tell them all to give him where he wants to talk only to the Africans. Kwame, politics is always in his head. So he talked to us, we should keep it going, we should do well. As for Ghanaians, he's going to make sure we get the best equipment. And he kept his word. I'm living this thing to show that Nkrumah kept his word all the time. And that was it. And after that, he left. And the commandant was very, very pleased. And I don't know whether that was what made them to make me cadet sergeant after General Gowon. Gowon was the first African cadet sergeant, and I was the next one.
At Sandhurst?
At Sandhurst.
Oh, wow. So, and that was quite a reputable position.
But Gowon and co, they met him too.
Okay.
Nkrumah was there. I said, Nkrumah, he was still doing it. All Africa, he wanted to talk to us.
Upper fans. Nkrumah showboy.
It was very nice. It was a very big list. Two times I met Nkrumah. When I transferred to the Air Force and went to do my advanced flying in Turnhill in England, he was also in England again. He came. I remember he came with Adama Fio, Boatin. Boatin has a son in England.
Paul,
that's it.
Paul. That's Kweku Boatin.
Kweku Boatin came with him, Adama Fio, and one other minister. They came to see us. And it's in this book.
Okay, we'll refer to that. Okay, so we will...
I just want to say he showed keen interest. He was keen to make sure that what he was heading was moving well and whatnot.
All right. Thank you very much. So we are speaking with Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen, and he's taking us through the formative years of, and how he entered the army and all that. And I think it's been interesting so far. We'll bring this one to a close and then have another episode where he will take us through the real course of his career as an officer, converting from regular army into Air Force and all that. But for now, this is where we lower the curtains. It's been Footprint. My name is Samuel Atamensa, and you heard Air Marshal Ashley-Lassen and Wing Commander Patrick Sowojo. See you next week.